Hey guys, it's Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with My Hero Academia. Last time on My Hero Academia, we had Climax. Where, well, we had the climax of the battle with hero killer Stain, which was pretty intense, all things considered. Ida was able to finally get up and save Todoroki, and so Ida joined the fight. So it was 3-on-1, and it was a pretty intense fight with the three of them being able to overpower the hero killer. And then everything was going to be alright. They restrained him, and all the other pro heroes showed up, including Gran Torino. And then one of the Nomus, the flying Nomu, came in, swooped down, and took Midoriya. At which point, Stain got out of his restraints and actually saved Midoriya, which was a very interesting turn of events. And then he was going to kill everyone there, all the false heroes, but then he stopped because, one of his broken ribs pierced his lung, basically. So, yeah. And it was very intense and very terrifying. Even for everyone there, even Endeavor was terrified. But yeah, that was pretty much that. This is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. This is also where I say that if you want to watch my reaction to this episode of My Hero Academia, it is unfortunately not in this YouTube video due to copyright issues I've had in the past. So what you gotta do is head down in the description or to the pinned comment on this video. There'll be a link there. You click that. That'll take you to my reaction highlight where the footage is in the corner. It's all edited and nice and good. And you can watch that. You can hopefully have a good time. When you're done with that, you can pop right back over here for the discussion. Man, I've really learned how to speedrun that whole spiel that I have. So, yeah. But hopefully you understood what I was saying. Yeah. So you can go do that now, and we might as well get right into this episode of My Hero Academia. Here we go. Alrighty. Ugh. The end of one brings another. Cut off one head, two more shall take its place. I kind of wish the League of Villains had a cooler name. Because you can't say something as cool as Hail Hydra or something like that, but the League of Villains is not their greatest name ever, so, oh well. Nothing you can do about it. Oh boy. So a lot of stuff happened in this aftermath episode. There's no, wait, maybe there's kind of a cast. It's not really a cast list here. It's not the same. I'm going to go back through the credits and find the cast list. There it is. Okay. Now I don't remember what was the name of the guy the chief. Let's see. Izuku, Tenya, Todoroki, Gran Torino, All Might, Shigaraki, Aizawa, Best Genius, Suragame? Maybe that was it. Atsuki, Ochako, Kirishima, Tetu, Yorozu, Kendo, Kurogiri. Yeah, that must be that guy. So, Chris... I don't know. The chief of police. What was his... Let me go back and find it there. Turn the subtitles on.
And manual too. Idiot. I could yell at you for hours right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
But before I do... You've got a visitor. This is Hosu's chief of police, Kenji Suragame.
Suragame?
Yeah.
The chief?
Suragame.
No, please stay seated. Woof.
Woof!
So, you're the UA students who brought down the hero killer, huh?
What is that voice? Dang it. I feel like I know that voice. this is gonna drive me crazy. I feel like I have to look it up. I need a minute because I have to look this up. That voice sounds so familiar. Wow. Okay. Apparently that was it. Just lavender. What is with these voices that I hear, I recognize, and they're just nothing. I get nothing. Drives me insane. Okay, back to business. The chief of police. Man, this guy's tall, I have to say. He's tall, and he's a dog. And I love, too, they're not fazed by it. The only reason Midoriya is a little phased is honestly just because he's the chief of police, you know? But I mean, they know Principal Nezu, so it's just a thing. It's just a thing.
No, please stay seated. Woof.
I love Midoriya's voice. Woof! Oh. So yeah, interesting to get this character, Chief of Police, Suragame. The next thing I wrote down was punishment. The punishment, kind of. They kind of got punished for what they did. Now, okay, I understand this, you know? I understand this, and I understand the punishments, and this was established before. Manuel was explaining all this stuff to Ida, and that's the thing is these guys aren't pro heroes. Now there was nothing last season about this. We didn't get anything in season 1 where a bunch of those kids did fight the criminals. And there was nothing about it, but I guess they easily spun it to be, well, it was All Might and Aizawa in 13 that did that. So, that's the thing. And I guess it wasn't as easy as... that was a lot easier than this, where it was just the 3 of them that took on Stain, So, yeah, I understand the cause for punishment. At the same time, I do understand, their argument that, look, if they hadn't done what they did, Native would be dead. He would, And again, you understand the Chief's rebuttal, It was like, oh, well, so you should be able to do what you want as long as it serves your needs. And it's like, fucking, no, that guy's needs, That guy's needs, you gotta... That he was going to die had Ida not stepped in, and then Ida was going to die had Midoriya not stepped in, and then he was going to die again had Todoroki not stepped in. So you understand both sides, and luckily the thing is that while yes, this is a very punishable offense, they're not going to be punished because it was a good thing that they did. They're just, they can't take any credit for taking down the hero killer. It's just going to be awarded to Endeavor, basically. So yeah. So you understand it, but at the same time, you understand both sides, basically, which is good. It's just, I will say it's a tad bit frustrating, mainly from their perspective of what they did. So yeah. I wrote down the aftermath. Everyone just sort of... this is practically the next day, basically. So, everyone, was getting the word on this, on what happened. Let's see. So, Pest Genus, everything will continue as normal, and Bakugo's there with his haircut, and he hates it. Yeah. And then I do like, this really wasn't even part of the aftermath. They just cut to Kendo and Yaoyorozu. They're just, they're doing their thing, just being in these commercials and everything, and they hate it. they hate they like Bakugo. They didn't get the right internship, you know. So now it's interesting because with the clip with Kirishima, and then the clip with Uraraka, Midoriya did send his location to everyone. So he sent it to everyone he could, basically. It was only that Todoroki was in the area, basically. So that's the thing. Todoroki was pretty much the only one in Hosu City and able to reach them in time. So that was interesting. And I also did like, you know, calling Uraraka and saying everything's okay. And then both sides where it's like, you know, what's his name? Isn't like Gunhead or something? I don't remember, but her hero, basically her mentor, just like, you know, through his mask you see the anime blushing, and he's just like, "Oh, is that a boy?" And she's just like, "Oh, yes, but it's not like that." Meanwhile, on the other end, on the other side of the line, you know, Midoriya is going nuts because he talked to a girl on the phone. It's like, you son of a bitch, you've been hanging out with this girl for over a month. She's like your best friend. Like, which it's like, okay, this is the first time the two of them have talked on the phone? Really? This is the first time the two of them have talked on the phone, but I mean, I do like that, actually. I do like that, and he's still, even, you know, a month in, he is still just in awe of talking to a girl, you know? So, that's funny. And then I wrote down Ida's hand. So he may have permanent damage in his left hand. It'll be difficult to move his fingers, and his hand will be kind of numb. So I hope he's right-handed. I can kind of sympathize. Actually, so you guys should know. I hope you know. Unless you're just watching this video and you're like, what the hell is on his arm? It's a splint, because I didn't fracture my arm, actually. They thought it was a fracture. What ended up happening, in case you don't know, I was in a car wreck on Valentine's Day, and we all thought that I had fractured my wrist. It turns out, just long story short, it's not a fracture, but it's the worst sprained wrist in existence. It was so sprained that they thought it was a fracture. But anyway, what day is today? Today's May 5th. Good Lord, March, excuse me. Today is March 5th. I still have to wear this until at least the 16th, so I've got like another 11 days with this thing on. So I hope that Ida is not like me and is actually right-handed, because I'm right-handed and I've been having to use my left hand for everything, and let me tell you, it sucks. It sucks not using my dominant hand. But I was also thinking, shortly after I got this thing on, I was thinking, man, I am so glad that Midoriya is past his phase of completely shattering all his bones and stuff, because that would be really hard for me to watch now. So luckily we're mainly past that. I mean, Midoriya still has like bandages on his arm, because he did sort of overplay it a little too much on that last hit. So, but still, it's no more of the shattered and the bruising and stuff. I don't know if I would have been able to deal with that with this thing on. So yeah, hopefully Ida's right-handed and not left-handed. So, yeah. But that's really just the thing I would think about. That's not a normal thing you would think about for something like that. But he has potential permanent damage, and he's going to leave his hand that way until he can become a true hero. Weird. I will say that's a little weird. The good news is, even whether he's left-handed or not, whatever, when he's doing his hero work at least, he does use his legs. He primarily fights with his legs, so damage to his hand is not really that bad. So yeah. And I also love Todoroki sort of freaking out, being like, oh my gosh, every time there's a fight that involves me, someone, gets damage to their hand. And then Ida and Midoriya start laughing. It's like, guys, this is serious. I'm like the hand crusher. And they start laughing more. So that was funny. I wrote down Shimura. So Shimura is All Might's predecessor. We don't know at this moment if Shimura is his hero name or just his normal name, because, Gran Torino does call All Might by his real name, Toshinori. So yeah, Shimura. Shimura, who was killed by a villain called All for One. And this is the villain that completely injured All Might 5 years back, which we heard about in episode 2. He had that injury that pretty much disintegrated his stomach and forced him to go into that weaker form. And the person that did this was All for One, the guy that killed his master. And it's seeming like he could be back now, pulling the strings of the League of Villains. So that is quite the setup for a villain, because previously it's like, okay, well, we had Shigaraki, who was sort of our main villain, but he was just, I don't want to say he was just some thug, but he wasn't this super grand villain. And then we had Stain, who is sort of more of a grand villain, but he's also just him. What's his plan? Kill. Great plan. He doesn't have any grand master plans other than he has his grand master ambitions. That's the difference, He doesn't have this grand master plan of how he's going to do everything. He just has the ambition of, reshaping society and stuff. So now we are setting up a true supervillain, We are setting up a true supervillain in All for One. Ooh, that's just terrifying. And despite the fact that Stain has been defeated, now, because of the media, of course, his ideologies are getting out there. And so now, villains are actually being inspired by Stain. And if they all start getting inspired and start doing more, there's not really a power vacuum, but they all will sort of gravitate to the League of Villains. See, I hate this name because I either, like, when I try to say League of Villains, I'm either going to accidentally say the League of Assassins or the League of Nations, neither of which are what we're talking about, So, yeah, the League of Villains. Get a better name, League. Your name sucks, Anyway, and then, and the whole thing of, all of his ideologies and his real name and all this stuff, is being circulated by the media, and it's like, well, that's topical. That's very topical, especially in America, that's very topical, which is interesting because this is an anime, made in Japan, but that is very topical. Yeah, I don't know how often that happens in Japanese media, like Japanese news and stuff like that. But that is definitely a huge fault of the 24-hour media networks in the United States, is like when there's a terrorist attack or something, especially a domestic terrorist attack, the media will just constantly be talking about this guy's name, where he's from, what were his origins, what were his ideologies. Don't put this shit on the news. And look, I don't mean to get, I don't mean to get like too far into this, but yeah, this is kind of an issue. And now My Hero Academia is talking about this, talking about, this through Hero Killer Stain and how he is now inspiring more villains. Like, don't do this shit. Do not do this shit, But we did get more of his origin, so he was inspired, which I'm about to... Here, now allow me to talk about Hero Killer Stain and his origins. Great job, Alex, but this is fiction, so who gives a shit? Fiction is different, though, Fiction is different. I can talk about this because no one's going to be no one in our world is going to be inspired by Hero Killer Stain, I hope. So, yeah. He was inspired by All Might, and he wanted heroes to return to the way they were at the beginning, before they were basically, government soldiers, I suppose, government employed heroes. So that is interesting, which honestly, I guess, it doesn't really inform us too much about how Stain works, because we already knew that just from our encounters with him, with him telling us basically. So yeah, it is interesting. It is definitely interesting. But yeah, but don't talk about that shit on the news, I don't know. We've talked about a lot in this discussion, actually. Great episode. For an Aftermath episode, a really great episode. And I will be curious to see where we go from here. I guess we're going to start building up to a expanded League of Villains and All for One, whoever he is. Ugh. And possibly we will have All Might give the full backstory on his predecessor, Shimura, to Midoriya. Because, yeah, it's something Midoriya should know, that he has the right to know, the history of one of his predecessors, basically. So, yeah, that is pretty much it. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of My Hero Academia reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.